Welcome back to Hit Subscribe, where we chat with key leaders in the e-commerce space to discuss the present and future state of commerce optimization. I'm your host, Kat, content marketing strategist at Recharge. On today's episode, we chat with Breanna Hughes from Bird&Be to talk about the origins of the company and how their unique niche plays a part in their brand strategy. Breanna, hello. Nice to see you again.
Hi, so great to see you.
We actually first met at ChargeX, and I think you had posted a story about Bird&Be's merchant gallery feature, and I found it on our company page, and I was like, let me find you. Let's record a little interview. And that was really fun. So it was good to meet you then.
Yeah, ChargeX was awesome. It was great to hear from kind of the keynotes, but for me, a highlight was definitely to connect with other merchants that are in similar challenges or similar stages of growth. And we were able to kind of share notes and strategies on what everyone was doing, and also being able to kind of commiserate in all the challenges that we're also all encountering. So it was a really great conference.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, that's honestly a lot of the feedback that I've heard so far has just been mostly merchants being able to talk with other merchants and commiserate and learn from each other. And I mean, speaking of learning, I think not everybody that's listening to this podcast probably knows who you are and where you're from. So can you tell me a bit about Bird&Be and what it's all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Breanna Hughes. I'm one of the co-founders of Bird&Be. So we are a consumer healthcare company that's focused in the fertility space. We're on an incredibly critical mission to help people grow their families more quickly. So how we do this is through doctor-backed fertility products and content. So we educate our customers on their fertility health early. We provide accessible from a price point as well as location, because we're direct to consumer, accessible at-home tests and personalized supplements that are scientifically proven to help impact their outcomes.
I love it. Yeah. And we spoke briefly, again, like I mentioned, at ChargeX, and you kind of gave me the spiel on that and how it's for men and women, because men are part of the equation too, which is really cool.
A very big part. Shockingly, I know that this was surprising to me, but it's surprising to everyone I talk to. So male factor represents 30 to 50% of infertility cases. So it was really important for us to, when we were building our company, that we address both sides of the equation, or like the 50-50 of the DNA split. So we have at-home tests for females and for males, as well as supplements for females and for males.
And what led you to dive into this space? What is the story behind how it all came to be?
Yeah, so I have spent my entire career in tech. So most recently, I was head of product at a company called League. It's a health operating system that helps employers help change the health of their employees. So I already was working and using tech to solve healthcare problems. But while I was leading product at League, I was undergoing a 5-year grind of an infertility experience myself. So literally, actually, the morning of my interview at League, I had found out that I was pregnant. And by the time I had a job offer at League, I had had a miscarriage. So it was a bit of a wild ride at the beginning. And then through my time at League, my husband and I were trying to have a baby unsuccessfully. So we went through kind of 3 rounds of IVF after trying for many, many years. And it was completely embarrassing how little I knew about my fertility health. I had an Apple Watch, a Whoop, like I was tracking my fitness all the time. And I knew so much about when it comes to diet and fitness and health as it relates to that. But I knew very, very little about my fertility health. And that was very permeated by the problems that other people encounter too. Like, we don't get educated on your fertility health. Like, you're told in high school gym class, like, don't have sex or use protection, but there's nothing that talks about kind of fertility health and what happens when you want to have a baby. And so you're kind of left to comb the depths of Reddit and Facebook groups, which is where I was in the middle of the night trying to cobble together kind of my own care. So for me, as someone who was using technology every day to make millions of people healthier at League, it was bananas to me that I was going through this like terrible user experience to try to kind of figure out what it is that I need to do to be able to have a baby. And the experience was, as I mentioned, it was combing through the depths of the internet. But then once I kind of figured out, okay, this is roughly what I should be doing, I had then had a giant boot box of 10 to 15 different bottles of supplements. Every Sunday night, I was counting out my pills in my, what I call like a geriatric pill case. And I was taking anywhere between 10 to 15 different pills. And I just thought that there has to be a better way. Like they were running out all at different times, and it was like a full-time job on top of my full-time job. So that for me, that moment was really the inspiration behind me and why I wanted to kind of build Bird&Be. So I actually connected with Dr. Dan Nayot, who's one of the top fertility doctors in the world. And I told him kind of what I was like, the problems that I was experiencing, what I was thinking about how I wanted to change things in the space. And he connected me immediately with my co-founder and the CEO of Bird&Be, Sam. And he said, you guys are working on something very similar. Like we should combine forces. And her and I connected and we hit it off immediately. So between Dan, Sam, and myself, and then we also onboarded the most incredible co-founding team, Dr. Tracy Malone and Dr. Jennifer Fitzgerald, who they have founded reproductive, fertility-focused naturopathic clinics that are embedded within IVF centers. And that was just like such a powerhouse team to start this company.
Wow, that does sound like a powerhouse team. How'd you find these people? How did you connect with them?
So Dr. Dan is like very entrepreneurial. His name is super well known. And because I was going through fertility treatment, I knew kind of of who the doctors were that I should be like, you do your research. And he was just had such a huge reputation because he was actually one of the primary people behind building the world's first AI technology that can analyze egg quality and assess egg quality. So he's very legit and very serious. And so I knew I had to pick his brain on this, and it's just an honor. And then Dr. Tracy and Dr. Jennifer, they are notorious for on the naturopathic side. So they have deep expertise in formulation and being able to tell patients what it is that they should be taking based on data that they have about them. So I actually consulted with Dr. Tracy Malone, and she had put together my protocol for me, which I then had to have a bunch of the different boxes and bottles. Spoiler alert, like I ended up eventually finding success through kind of her support as well as the support of IVF. And my son just turned 1 a couple months ago.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. So I have the craziest story as it relates to my son. So when we were fundraising for our first round for Bird&Be, we had put together a number of different milestones that we were going to hit over the years. And we had put from 9 months from our kind of soft launch that we were going to have the first Bird&Be baby in March 2022. Little did I know that that was going to be me. So my son was born in March 18th, 2022. And I found out just a couple days before we launched that I was pregnant. And my pregnancy announcement was actually in the Globe and Mail article that was written about our fundraise. So that's how everyone had found out that I was pregnant.
Oh my God, that is so perfect. He was the Bird&Be baby.
He was the very first Bird&Be baby. It's amazing.
There's a lot of bees in your story. Like you're Breanna, Bird&Be, Bird&Be baby boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, this is not really at all similar, I guess. But like I understand at least a little bit about the challenges of trying to find information about things related to health online and like kind of being your own advocate. So my daughter has eczema and it was like very severe. Both of them did. And I was the one that was like searching on the forums, what's the best medicine and like who's the best person to talk to. And there's so much information out there. So I can relate to at least that part and having like tons of medicines and natural care in like this huge box. None of it worked. and then we ended up finding like a solution. So I think what you're doing here in simplifying that process for people who are actively trying to find that information and you've gone through it and it's worked for you. I think that's really impactful as a business and that's how like Bird&Be kind of fits into this space. I'm curious if any of your personal experiences in this have impacted some of your business decisions. For example, I think in the case study call I had with you guys, you had said it's actually really difficult to advertise add-on products or something like that to your customers because they don't want to be purchasing your products continuously. Like they hope that it works and they kind of stop. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So I'd say like our personal experiences, not just mine, like initially out of the gate, for sure, I've had a very intense journey. Some would say more intense than is typical. And so absolutely that lens at the beginning was extraordinarily important for us. We had many people on our team that have been impacted by infertility, which is what makes kind of our brand so unique and special. We really go above and beyond to make sure that people feel included with inclusive language. So we are a company that really prides ourselves in supporting anyone that wants to build their family, whatever that family makeup looks like. And we also go above and beyond to avoid different triggers that could be triggering for our community. So we're very sensitive when we talk about pregnancy. We avoid having photos of babies and pregnant people because we know that this can be such a hard subject matter. And like I myself felt it all the time. I felt these triggers firsthand. And so we've really permeated that through our culture and extended that to our customers. It does create some business challenges for sure. So as it relates to our subscriptions, for example, that we run through Recharge, we know that psychologically, so we've spoken to customers as well as, again, because of my lived experiences, we know that it's hard psychologically to admit to yourself that you will need a particular product every single month. So a good example is like ovulation tests or pregnancy tests. You want this month, and we want this month to be the month for you. We want you to not need that part of our product anymore. And so we are really careful on how much we're pushing people to subscribe. And subscriptions are really for a convenience because we, again, want to avoid that full-time job on top of the full-time job. And so it's there for customers, but we obviously understand deeply the psychology behind what goes into making those types of decisions as a consumer. So we definitely tread lightly on that front and try to just see our customers and meet them where they are and support them every step of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand that. If I were to be in those shoes, I wouldn't want to have to subscribe. I think it's an interesting balance that you kind of have to create with your brand and your target audience. Does that affect kind of like your marketing in other ways as well too? I mean, you said like you don't include certain images or triggers. Do you think that your kind of marketing strategy probably differs a bit from other D2C brands?
Absolutely. So we want to be really careful, like with our targeting, and where we want to make sure that we are kind of a very trusted doctor-backed voice in the community. So in the fertility space, there is a lot of misinformation. There was a recent study that said that actually 90% of people get their information on what they should do for their fertility health through peers and things like Facebook groups, as opposed to doctors. What we've done is instead of trying to force people to come to us, we go to where they are. So we bring our doctors and our doctor-backed content to TikTok, to Pinterest, to Instagram, to Facebook. So we know where these conversations are already happening. And we really want to be there to enhance the conversation, but most importantly, give trusted, reputable, factual information that help people when they're making decisions in this space.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's important and definitely a trend that I've been seeing with health and supplement brands. It's very educational and informative in how they market their brand and product. It's not just like marketing the product, but the information that comes with it. So I think that's really cool and makes a lot of sense. And do you guys offer products for the life cycle of the fertility journey, not just the pre part, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we see ourselves as like we encompass the full spectrum as it relates to kind of your fertility journey. So whether you're just curious about your fertility health, and you want to be proactive, we have tests, your at-home tests that can teach you more about what's happening in your body, as well as supplements that can help kind of maintain and protect your egg and sperm quality over time. And then, of course, we have our preconception products that we have for people who are trying to conceive at home, but also we are at therapeutic dosages that support people who are in clinic. So our philosophy is we can support and help people that are the hardest to get pregnant, like myself. And therefore, we can help also people who are trying to conceive at home and help short circuit that. So for people who can conceive at home, we want them to be able to do so and as quickly as possible. But for those who need support of the clinic, we want to identify them earlier on because earlier access to care is directly correlated with outcomes. And then, of course, we continue and maintain that relationship once someone does get pregnant and then through to postpartum. So we launched actually our postpartum products right when I had given birth, which was very great for me, although I did have a sneak peek, of course. And we have different add-ons like lactation if you are chest feeding or breastfeeding or nursing. So we have like various ways that you can tailor your supplement regime depending on where you're at in your journey.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure for your target audience, because it is a challenging time, you mentioned convenience is really top of mind for what you want to offer to your customers. So even going from like the journey before pregnancy and after pregnancy, finding it all in one place, I think is probably very efficient for your customer base.
Absolutely. So convenience and quality are kind of our top pillars. We want to make sure that we've taken the guesswork out of having to, the way that I love to describe our supplements is that anyone in theory can be a baker. So you can go to a grocery store and you can buy a bunch of ingredients, but the quality of those ingredients differ. You might not put the same amounts as somebody else, and you don't always get the same outcome when it comes to whatever you're baking. I know I'm a terrible baker and my cakes don't look like anything like my friends' cakes. So we've actually prepackaged it all together. And so you don't even have to worry about kind of buying all the different separate ingredients from different places. And you don't have to worry about knowing the dosages and also like the quality, but also the type of ingredient. So some are more highly absorbable than others. And so our medical team has gone so deep in really optimizing the best possible supplement regime that could be on the market. And we actually manufacture this ourselves because there isn't anything on the market. Like this is not just like a repackaging of what already exists. There was nothing good enough on the market. And that's why we came together to create these supplements.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I mean, I feel like the most successful products and brands are those that are filling a need and filling a gap. I'm curious from back to like that e-commerce side and that business side, what sorts of strategies have you guys been implementing to really showcase the value of your specific product and subscribing to your product to your customers? Is there anything specific that you guys have been doing that has been really successful?
What has been really great about our brand is because of the quality of what we've created and our team behind it, we've actually have the backing of the medical community and very specifically the fertility medical community, which is huge. So we actually are being sold now in fertility clinics. We have a number of fertility clinics that send referral links to their patients for them to buy like on our website. But what we started noticing at the kind of the end of last year is we had some fertility doctors reach out to us and tell us, hey, my patients that have been on your products, I've seen dramatic improvements in their IVF cycles, in kind of their sperm test results and general like, outcomes. And so that's what really got them excited about our products and why they're referring them to other patients. Like the science is all there. Like there's been heavily researched and heavily studies behind all of our ingredients. But what we are now doing is we are running a sperm study that formalizes this so then we can actually talk and market about these outcomes more, because we did see significant improvements in our first initial cohort when it came to our sperm test. So that's been a really unique acquisition channel for us. So having fertility doctors refer their patients to our e-commerce site, and their customers are signing up for a subscription and really priming themselves for the best possible outcomes in their cycles with the clinic. So that's just been an absolute amazing testament to our team of doctors and what we've created. And it's been really great for social proof and for demonstrating the outcomes that we can achieve because
That's
of
amazing.
this. Yeah, thank you. We're like actually changing the world. It's amazing. But because of this, like what has happened organically is, I don't know if you know Doc Talk on TikTok, but we actually have had doctors and nurses and embryologists and really incredible people who spend their lives dedicated to helping people build their families. They've been talking about our products and promoting us organically. And that's just been a huge honor. And it just shows that we're serious about what we do, and we're serious in kind of countering the misinformation out there. And we're working with all the best people in the business to help people build their families.
That's amazing. And that's honestly super cool. Congratulations on all of those successes. I feel like for anyone who's listening, I would be curious as a listener how you made that happen. Is that just something that happened? They found you, or did you kind of connect with these people, the doctors or Doc Talk, et cetera? Like, how did that come to be?
So it's through a mix of they hear about us through their patients. Again, because we go to where our customers are, where they're already having conversations about infertility and the different tactics that they're trying, that allowed us to be able to kind of have conversations directly with the consumer. And those customers of ours were going to their doctors, their fertility doctors and specialists, and saying, hey, can you review these ingredients? Like, I'm taking this. And then from there, the doctors saw and they're like, this is great. This is super convenient. Awesome. Yes, keep taking it. And I'm going to tell my other patients to take it too. So that has been absolutely incredible. Like the word of mouth. If you ever want to help small businesses, like word of mouth is just incredibly, incredibly valuable. And of course, we have a micro influencer strategy. So we do partner with influencers on kind of TikTok and Instagram, and we support them in their journey, and their listeners, and I don't like to call them followers, their communities then are able to get in on the secret that has kind of helped them in their journeys and find success. But yeah, we are definitely all over TikTok, and doctors listen to other doctors. And so that's been really helpful having our doctors all on our social media channels to give great information. But we're so fortunate to have incredible word of mouth and incredible partners that are helping spread the word, because that's just the most amazing way to acquire new customers for us.
Yeah, that's definitely a solid acquisition strategy. Word of mouth is so powerful. I think that's how like the influencer marketing kind of came to be initially. So does that mean that you're not really putting in as much budget towards acquisition and marketing then, because it kind of has been happening organically, or is it still a major cost for your company, is that marketing and acquisition channel?
It's definitely a cost. We do the traditional kind of advertising channels. We like to do them differently. Again, we don't want to use scare tactics or anything like that, but our organic acquisition has been really strong, like incredibly strong. So we want to keep that going for as long as we can. Obviously, we're a relatively new company. Like, we've only been in market for a year and a half fully, but we definitely like word of mouth and kind of, that friend of a friend whisper network. Like, that's big in the fertility community. So for those who aren't public about their journey, there's a lot of conversations that are still happening in like Instagram DMs and in forums and things like that. And so being able to kind of have the word get out that way is just so great for our business, because then we'd much rather spend money on improving the quality of the products and innovating and finding new ways to solve new fertility challenges that people are encountering, rather than spending money on ads that are just trying to acquire customers. So that's important for us to maintain our business and maintain sales. But we obviously much prefer to invest in people who will help kind of get the word out.
That's awesome.
It's the best. Honestly, like every single day, as someone who I have been in the past and still continue to be some days, it can be really hard. Like I was very triggered by pregnancy announcements. Every single day, we have a number of customers sending us messages to our customer support channel. Like they haven't even told their partners in many instances, but they just want to tell someone. And it's like, I hear about all these people who have been trying for years and they've found successes even outside of the clinic with our support. Like it's just, I have never been so like validated with my decision because it was really scary, like quitting a big, awesome company. Like my previous job was amazing. And it was really scary kind of leaving a big company and moving towards a startup. But every single day I'm validated by people telling me that they got pregnant with our support. And it's the most incredible feeling in the world. And it's why I exist on this planet and why my story was what it was. Like I had to go through that 5-year hellscape to be able to be at this point of where I am. And now, like if I can avoid or have other people avoid going through what I did, even one person, it's worth it. And I'm already seeing like hundreds and almost like thousands of people that we're helping. And it's the best.
That's awesome. Normally, I finish off these interviews with like a personal question, but I feel like this whole interview has been a personal question in a way. So I think what I would actually love to end off this conversation of is what the most memorable customer story you've heard was or experienced with a customer.
Oh God, there's so many. So every interaction and touch point, like I'm regularly in our customer support emails and I respond to customers directly. But one major standout in my mind was we had a customer who was told they would never be able to conceive at home, that they would only be able to conceive via IVF. And even then, their chances were like slim to none. And that they basically had prepared themselves for what we call childless, not by choice life. And that customer just thought that they would have one last kick at the can due to their age and a number of different factors. They just said, like, whatever, let's just try like one last time. Like, let's give ourselves a time box of 3 months. And I'm going to try these Bird&Be products. My significant other and I will both be on them. And let's just see what happens. And they got pregnant after 3 months.
No, not no in a bad way, but no, I'm so
it's ridiculous.
Emotional.
It was like, I just like that. I'm like crying. That's why we're doing this, like just those stories that are just, this is just the most incredible, like honor. It feels like we're truly on like a nonprofit mission, even though we are a company striving like for profit, but it's just the most incredible mission. And we're doing it every day.
That's amazing.
And every single customer story where we're helping people and they're achieving their kind of goals of building their families, like every single one of those mean everything to us. And we celebrate them. And we just are so fortunate and lucky to be part of their, like a small sliver part of their journey.
That's honestly the magic, I think, of being a founder or a co-founder of a business is like having a product you really believe in and then meeting like your customers that you're selling your products to where they are and having them believe in it too and it working for them. That's so magical. That's amazing.
I also have one other Bananas customer story that's just hilariously coincidental. I moved to a very, very small town in BC and I had gotten set up on like a blind friend date. And this person, I knew like nothing about them. They knew nothing about me, but like an old kind of family friend was just desperately trying to help me make friends. And we went for coffee, and that person, like, I had told her I had just had a baby, and she had said, oh, my husband and I were trying to have a baby. It's been taking us longer, but I just found this company. It's called Bird&Be.
Oh my
And we started taking the
gosh.
supplements, and like, I'm sitting there, like, I'm like, oh my, I'm losing my mind.
How do I respond? Yeah.
Like, I was just like, tell me more. What do you think about the product? It was just like, that was this aha moment of like, oh my goodness, like we're definitely reaching a great growth point, but what are the odds, like, in a small town? Like, anyways, it was just, and she had no clue. Because she didn't know my last name. It's bananas. Anyway, so that was just such a cool story. Yeah. And then I ended up obviously spending the rest of the coffee asking her like how we can make her life easier and what else we should do. But yeah, that was just hilarious.
The grind never stops.
The grind never, it's not a grind. It's honestly like, there's other parts that are a grind for sure, like customs forms and freights and things like that. But when it comes to customers and speaking to customers and getting their feedback, it's just the best and it makes us better. And I just welcome it. So.
Well, then the blessings never stop.
Never stop.
And change it up. Okay.
But I sound like I'm a very cynical person. Like, I sound like lovey-dovey. Like, I don't like most things, but I absolutely adore our customers and all feedback from them.
I don't like most things, but that's how you know it's real. This one's amazing and so lovely. I am so happy for you and all of the successes that Bird&Be has had so far. I'm sure there will be many more to come, and you'll certainly meet many more people who happen to be customers coincidentally. And I'm so excited for you. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We actually have a fun little addition to this episode that was recorded at a later date, so don't go just yet. Without getting into too much detail, here's Breanna once again to share some special news.
So we got some pretty incredible and exciting and somewhat scary and terrifying news that after a 5-year journey, recurring pregnancy loss, multiple pregnancy losses, 3 rounds of IVF to conceive our first son, we are shocked and so excited to announce that we actually spontaneously conceived our second baby. And I'm due in January. So extremely excited and over the moon. I do want to acknowledge that this may be hard for some people to hear, and this might bring up feelings. I do hope that it can give hope and inspiration to people who are deep in the infertility experience, and that additional extra resiliency, especially if you've been similarly diagnosed with the most frustrating, unexplained infertility, that it can happen this way. I'm not suggesting that it will for everybody, but I'm completely shocked as anyone, and so pleasantly surprised. And yeah, if you need kind of to hear these light stories at the end of very, very dark, long tunnels, and that can give you hope or whatever you need from it, please take it and just know that I've lived what you're experiencing if this is what you've gone through. So
wow. Congrats. Again.
Thanks. Crazy. So
That's
wild.
So crazy. And you mentioned that, no, I mean, I would also be, if that's a long process to go through, and to have heard it from so many different people or times, like, oh, like, I'm sorry, etc. And then kind of just happens. You guys were not planning for the unexpected, right?
No, I genuinely can say I never saw, not let alone a spontaneous pregnancy, but an unplanned spontaneous pregnancy that took me by complete surprise. I mean, not to say like we were taking like the Bird&Be Power prenatals for males and females, like we were taking our products, but more in like preparation for doing another transfer and kind of for IVF. But yeah, I didn't see it in my bingo cards or tarot cards or whatever, this happening this way, but so excited and so blessed from the universe that it is.
Oh my God, congrats. That's so amazing. I'm so happy for you. I'm really glad that we were able to kind of reconnect.
And thanks for like creating a place to have this conversation amongst like business context. Like I love, that's one of my favorite things about Bird&Be is I can have conversations like this on platforms that are typically kept professional and very similar to when I was at Recharge over breakfast. We're talking about like sperm health and egg health. Like it's just great to be changing the conversation, not only on like Instagram and social media and like in communities, but actually like in the business community. So yeah, I want to thank you for opening this type of conversation in this platform.
We want to thank Breanna once more for joining us. You can find Bird&Be at birdandbe.com. If you liked what you heard, make sure to hit subscribe on whatever platform you're listening from, and check us out at rechargepayments.com/hit subscribe for our latest episodes.